its grand return in 2023, and I can't lie, I only got into Pikmin the last, 9 or 10 months ago. To the point where I got all the games, played all of them, 100% of them, and fell in love with the franchise. What the fudge?
That's what I call dedication to the craft.
So since I have a new series that I absolutely love, I wanted to make a video about what I think are the top 10 hardest Pikmin bosses. I do want to point out at the very start of the video, I may have some opinions that not everyone here agrees with, but hey, if you don't agree with it, then make your own ranking. Anyway, here we go! First video of 2024, top 10 Pikmin bosses. Let's go! The first Pikmin game had a lot of pretty cool bosses that are considered classics, and even made their return in other Pikmin games. But I'm gonna say the most famous of them all is probably the burrowing Snagret. Now, not gonna lie here, this thing is already pretty weird. It's half bird, half snake, which is a pretty interesting combo. It looks weird, but pretty damn awesome at the same time. When you fight this dude, be sure to have a lot of Pikmin and a strategy, or else you're gonna lose your entire squad, trust me. I made that mistake a lot when I first fought this dude. Be sure to aim for the head. Swarming the body like other enemies is entirely out of the question due to the scales covering it, making it immune to Pikmin attacks. My advice is to let it get stuck like a damn ostrich and then swarm the head. The worst part is sometimes you'll encounter several at a time, and not gonna lie, that shit is terrifying. If you don't have your eyes on all the Snagrets when there are multiple, you're bound to lose a lot of your Pikmin. So be sure to have a plan. Pikmin 2 is a very tough game with its insane amount of creatures around every corner. But you wanna know what really gave me a run for my money? That is the Man-at-Legs. Most bosses in Pikmin, you're able to take them out relatively alright, but this guy will really test you on how good you are at taking openings. This dude is moving at the speed of a goddamn cheetah. It can very quickly run away from you, giving you very little, if any, time at all to take him out via chucking Pikmin at this machinery monster. That's not even the worst part. This thing has a damn Gatling gun. You better run for cover unless you want to be blasted off like Team Rocket. That gun will make very quick work of your army. If you're not careful, it will make short work of Olimar and Louie. Your only chance of beating this thing is to play the waiting game and seize the opportunity to attack. But if you want to be brave, ambush it by throwing purple Pikmin and try to get in some chip damage. Just be sure to know when to flee. Another Pikmin 2 boss has made the list. This time it's the Royal Highness herself, Empress Bullbax. Not gonna lie, this boss fight was one of the more frustrating ones for me, and kinda weird. This fight takes place in the Frontier Cavern, and it really gave us the definition of problems multiply. Not only can she roll onto her sides and squish your Pikmin, but she can also birth Bulborb lava on the spot. So not only do you have to watch out for the Empress herself, you also have to keep an eye on the Bulborbs to make sure they don't launch a sneak attack and overwhelm you. If you want a quick little trick that I used, you lure the Bulborbs into the Empress's way and have them be squashed, and then go out and attack the source. When I played Pikmin 3, I knew there would be some majorly messed up creatures, but oh boy, I sure wasn't expecting my my childhood nightmare fuel to come to life and swallow my Pikmin army whole in one ginormous gulp. Ladies and gentlemen, and everyone in between, may I present to you the Quaggled Meyerclops. To be trifled with. This thing will wipe you and your army out very damn quick if you're not staying on your toes. Its initial defense is stomping and licking Pikmin like they're ice cream, but once the core is exposed, it will start exposing water, and if you have anything aside from water Pikmin, you're in a lot of trouble. It'll also become much more aggressive and will drop to the ground or roll around with almost zero warning. If you want to avoid insanely large casualties, work in small groups. This is easily one of the most well-known bosses in Pikmin, and it rates pretty damn high for the first-time shock factor. The Water Wraith. This thing is infamously scary in Pikmin 2, and it even made a horrifying return in Pikmin 4 almost 20 years later. On to some real shit here, this thing is fucking scary as all hell! Sure, its depiction in Pikmin 4 was creepy as hell, but the early 2000s graphics in Pikmin 2 for some reason was enough to make this thing worse in my opinion. You can find the Water Wraith in two locations. One of them is the submerged castle. And in that place you are at an insane disadvantage because all you can bring with you are water Pikmin. This cave also has some insane hazards going on. And with this thing behind you, all you're gonna want to do is get the heck out of there as fast as possible. And then on top of all of this, there is a secret timer of 5 minutes before this dude spawns in and begins to wreak havoc on you and your poor Pikmin. The worst part is, you can't attack this thing. You can't lay a hand on this monster until you get purple Pikmin, which you don't get until the final sublevel. But oh boy, once you have them, go ham and start attacking this dude. After you clear out his first health bar, he loses his cylinders and you gotta go on a wild goose chase to stun him again, and then just go thermonuclear on this dude. People won't agree with me putting two of the most iconic bosses this low, but hey, what can you do? If you want a challenge, then oh boy, this thing will certainly give you one and more. I mean, hey, this thing can kill your Pikmin by literally crawling. This boss is a boss that you can choose to fight if you want to. Me personally, I went for it because I wanted to see what all the fuss was about. And oh boy, I was in for a treat. If you decide to take on the challenge of this monster, go to the Distant Springs, and make sure you do this before day 15. Any day after and the egg will not be there. Anyway, you get to the springs, find the egg, sit by it for a few seconds, and the fight will commence. Now, what I think is pretty freaking terrifying about this dude is his mark of intelligence. The Prog won't go after the Pikmin and Olimar. It will instead go after the onions. This thing is going after the source instead of Olimar, who is just controlling the Pikmin, which is very outside the box thinking, to be honest, and we don't normally see that in bosses. Make sure when you fight it, stay away from the back and the sides, or else the Pikmin will be killed in its poisonous trail. If you manage to kill this thing, the reward is very much worth the struggle, as you'll get 100 Pikmin of your choice, and I think that's worth the insane risk, to be honest. Now, what's always stuck with me is the fact that this thing is the only one of its kind in the entire series. and I would love to have an explanation as to what it is. But overall, I think that this is a fight that you should at least try once or twice if you love the Pikmin franchise. Well when it was released, quickly becoming a fan favorite in the franchise, and not gonna lie, it's super easy to see why. Sure, a lot of the bosses and enemies were nerfed as hell in the game, but one boss that gave me quite a bit of trouble was Fulix. This was a reference I certainly didn't expect. By the way, for those who don't know what I'm talking about, in Pikmin 1, there was a boss called LOUISE, which would drown red and yellow Pikmin. But the blues can swim, so joke's on him. If you have blue Pikmin here, this boss is gonna get humbled very quickly. Oh boy, not this time! Fulix over here is immune to blue Pikmin, so you have to fight him the way that was intended. The reason why this boss was so high was because for whatever dumb reason, I could not grab onto that thing's tail fast enough. And when I did get it, it took me forever to actually eliminate this thing. I couldn't tell you why even if I wanted to, but it did put up one hell of a fight for me at least. I don't know about everyone else though, I've seen people take it out relatively easy. Made another appearance on this list, and for a good damn reason. This game has a slew of bosses that are utterly difficult. One of those being none other than the groovy long legs. This thing is rather iconic in the Pikmin fandom, almost as well known as the Water Wraith, and it's kinda easy to see why. It was used quite a bit with the marketing, and it has one slap of a fight theme. Now, what makes this thing so dangerous is that it can and will confuse the Pikmin if it sprays the purple dust at it. Also, if you're not careful, you're gonna get hammered by this giant feet, and it'll wipe out you and your army if you don't watch them carefully. And worst of all... but I also hate it! It's good dubstep, but it's one hell of a boss to beat. Anything that has you throw Pikmin, the Pikmin have to go up its legs to get to the hitbox, then you have to rely on pure luck to do chip away damage. I don't like that formula of boss fights. My advice for this boss? Wait for the yellow and red mode to dissipate before attacking. That way you won't have to worry about Pikmin clinging to this thing like a spider to a spider web. Or else you're gonna get humbled by this thing real quick. One thing you can also do is have Ochi trip him by attacking the feet and then strike. I didn't know about that trick until I ended up watching a YouTube video about it. And I was pretty mad when I found that. One thing is for sure, this boss doesn't fuck around. This is argued to be one of, if not the hardest bosses in the Pikmin series. But for me personally, I think he's the second hardest. The Sire Hound. Holy flying fudgesicles, Batman! This thing is tough as nails. When I first encountered the Sire Hound, I made the fatal mistake of not getting the proper Pikmin, henceforth having to rely on Ochi for a good portion of this boss battle. The first phase didn't trip me up too badly. The second phase is ice, and again, not too terrible, but phase 3 is where junk gets real. You better have brought electric Pikmin before entering here, or you're going to have to rely on Ochi to destroy the electro balls this mad pooch will spit out. After that, the fire phase wasn't too terrible. The electricity was definitely worse. Then, oh boy. I guess I was having too much fun because in the final phase, I got real humbled by this thing. You really need to watch the surroundings when you're in this phase because anything could happen. The Siren Hound will begin to spit red fireball type things that leave red imprints in the ground that will damage you. So you gotta get behind it and grab that tail as fast as you can before things get messy. One thing's for sure, he definitely makes all the other bosses in the Pikmin series look like complete pushovers compared to this one. And if he did go toe-to-toe with the final boss from Pikmin 1, I have no doubt that this mad dog would win. Especially since he would be much more of a superior boss. Still, there's no denying that he's cute, but he's also freaking intimidating. What's harder than the Sire Hound, I hear you ask? Well, it's a heavy debate because you encounter this thing before you encounter the Sire Hound, and that, my friends, is the final Sovereign Molbax. I would much rather take on the Sire Hound any day rather than this monstrosity. Not only does the God Emperor have a ton of HP, but he's surrounded by water and is able to terraform the arena with his jumps, giving you much less and less arena to work with. You will need a lot of purple Pikmin if you want to take this thing out relatively quickly, because trust me, you will get tired of this thing's antics insanely quickly. Also, even with all the upgrades, his roar will still knock you off Ochi and scatter your Pikmin, which is kind of wrong when the arena is becoming more and more flooded as the fight goes on. Because if you have anything aside from the blue Pikmin, they're gonna get stuck and become very easy prey for the Bulbax. At least with the Sire Hound, that hazard is non-existent, but this battlefield is nothing but dangerous and annoying as hell. Especially if you have anything aside from the purple Pikmin. But stick to the blue Pikmin and Ochi's Ram, then you'll be fine. But it will just take some time. Stupid Bulbax. And that's my list of the hardest Pikmin bosses. Who knows, I might do a video of the worst bosses later this year. Anywho, I must apologize for blipping off the radar. 2023 was a really rough year for me. But I'm finally back at it and ready to make some more content. Bye-bye!